So just some take-home points from here. So NTCR is your friend, and you should again have a read, or at least refer back to some of the key points on this slide before your interviews from there. At a minimum, while you can negotiate your base rates and billings, the practices do not have to offer you above that. Think as well, they are small businesses and have also got to pay you super on top of your billings too. So a lot of practices don't actually have a lot of wiggle room, do operate on tighter margins than what you'd expect. At a minimum though, you must be paid in monthly pay cycles. So every month, your billings must happen from there. You must receive a payslip and have visibility over your MBS billings. Good one to always check as well with your practice manager or who is giving you the orientation about this and how to do it. Because I know at some practices when I started, I didn't initially have access to it, but it was purely just because a button hadn't been clicked on the system on their end, because different softwares will have different levels of visibility and accessibility, that sometimes it's purely just a box hasn't been ticked. So make sure you can see how you do it and or you know how to do it, and you do that at the end of each day as well. It's an important way to learn. Super is paid on top of your base rate or percentage of billings and receipts. Right. Finally, and we alluded to this before, but it can be a bit to get your head around with the different people who are involved. So some key people to know is you've got your college training coordinators. These people will help you through your training requirements, your placement process. Hopefully, if you're on training and about to apply to practices, you've already heard from them. Medical educators, again, a huge source of support for training, as often small group teaching, and another excellent source of mentorship of outside the college as well. So outside the practice rather as well. So it's a different line of support. Your supervisor is your in-practice teaching and mentorship. They may or may not be the practice owner. Practice manager we've spoken a good about before. RLOs, so registrar liaison officers. As we said, each state and college should have representatives, and they also sit on the GPRA National Advisory Council, which meets twice a year. So feedback, again, we always want to hear from you. The RLOs are an excellent way of feeding this back to, because then we hear the voices from everyone across the states. It's a really great grassroots approach up to help support for GP training. Other faculties to be aware of is the GPs in training. So that's more internal college advocacy that both the RACGP and ACRM have. And then our register advisors. Any issues, inquiries, whether it's about practice requirements, nuances of work, how the NTCR applies to your situation, any peer support or any challenges that you feel that you'd just like a second opinion on, do not hesitate to get in contact with us. A bit of a disclaimer though, we cannot do a contract read through. We are not lawyers. So while we can absolutely talk to the NTCR, we cannot do a full contract review for registrars. Your MDOs, though, are someone, if you're feeling like you really do need that side of support, have that legal option from there as well. But absolutely get in contact with us if there's issues around the NTCR or how that's playing out in your practice from there. And finally, just a comment as well that we spoke about the different ways that GPs can get paid, but just the actual, I suppose it's just the awesomeness of general practice itself that I know I'm probably preaching to the converted here because you're all here on the webinar tonight. But it's such a diverse career in what it can offer that it really is a choose your own adventure in how you'd like to structure your work. And this can not only be but where you work, the groups of patients that you see, how you work, but the diversity of both clinical and non-clinical roles. So I can't really think of anywhere else in medicine where I could have the autonomy that I've had over my career with working in general practice clinically when I'd like to, supplementing that with medical education, with research, with board roles like with GPRA, that there's such a scope to carve out what you'd like to do. At times it can feel equally awesome and overwhelming, but it's just knowing that there's that scope there as well. So it's just a really exciting journey to start on from there.